this 7-Eleven a lot for the last 3 weeks, and I was wondering why they had an empty shelf, because they just put this in. A big old freezer section. Probably not that important to anybody else, but it was surprising to me to see this space finally be used.
hopefully I sound okay in this kind of alcove. It was like the best place here in the park after I got off the sea bass boat, that I was like, maybe I can get something set up here and just finally, sit down and talk or stand up and talk, because I'm standing right now. But yeah, it is almost 4:20, nice, on Monday, May 12th. And I am checked into my flight for tomorrow. 24 hours from now, I will be in the air. I'll be going back home. So obviously, every time I go home, I always have thoughts. I always have feelings. Last time I was here, let me find a better spot. All right, we'll just do this the old-fashioned way. Where was I? Yeah, I am now checked in on my flight for tomorrow, less than 24 hours away. Obviously, every time I leave, I always have feelings, This trip's gone, I'd say, pretty well. It's maybe more low-key than I had originally planned. So I didn't go anywhere, Tokyo and Yokohama, but for the most part, some places, that I'm so used to going in the past, I never even once touched the Odakyu line. I didn't go over to Atsuki. I didn't do any of that. I went to Machida once. I had probably ideas where I could have gone to places today, but I just stuck, not too far away. I went as far as Yokohama Station, and that's about it. And I kind of feel bad about that, but at the same time, I also knew it's right now, at the way I feel, my patience is probably going to be pretty low if things start pushing me towards being stressed out. The last couple of days, I've just been kind of, as you'd expect, a little on edge in terms of, just how I feel, what's going to be the catalyst to kind of tip me over the edge, and hey, I'm crying. It actually basically happened as I started seeing some of the sights around here near the park on the sea bass there, as we're pulling into the Yamashita Park pier for their, it's kind of a pier. It's super, super small. Yeah, I feel like I haven't done enough. And I was talking to my friend Brandy probably a week ago, maybe almost a week and a half. And, her response, and it was the same response I already had to myself, was, well, by whose standards have you not done enough? And, it's the blessing and the curse of, I find a ton of shit to do, but I never have enough time to do it. And some stuff's really far away. Some stuff's not open. Some stuff, by the time I actually get back here and I go to look at it again and go, oh yeah, what was in this area? Why did I add that? I either have no notes, or in the case of a number of spots, they just closed. They closed in the last 2 years. So, and I think I add too much stuff to my list, and I expect too much out of myself than what is feasible. And in a lot of ways, I've done a lot of new stuff this time around. I've hit up familiar places, but I've, gone to some of the more touristy spots that I've, like I said, I've deliberately avoided just because I didn't want to go there, because it might be too busy or it might not be enough to do. And in some cases, it was too busy. So it's, I've done a lot, and it feels like 3 weeks. It went by pretty quickly, but at certain times I was just like, damn, I have been here 3 weeks. I think I've filled that time hopefully well enough, but it's always tough to tell that on my own, And so right now at the moment, I feel fine. I'm most of the way packed. I really don't have a whole lot to do other than, do some laundry tonight and fit the rest of the stuff that I need to fit into my suitcases in there. They are full. I won't have to send anything back this time around, unlike my last trip where I definitely had to send a parcel back home with some help just because I had way too much stuff. And even when I finally went home, I had way too much stuff. This time around, it's not as bad, but those suitcases are full. Thankfully, still only have to check in the one bag. And the last time I weighed it, it is under the 50 kilo limit. I think it was 50. No, it's 50 pounds. Sorry, 50 kilos would be a lot. but it should be fine. So I'm not worried about that so much. It's just a matter of, kind of pushing back against my own brain and telling myself, you don't have to do anything grand for your last day. You don't have to go anywhere. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to just walk around Motomachi and maybe a bit of Chinatown. I might walk around Chinatown a little bit tonight after everything closes. But for the most part, it's going to be pretty low key. And that's okay. Since I never know when it's going to totally hit me. It might not hit me until I get home. It might not hit me until after I get home. A day after when I go to work, maybe it'll hit me there. It'll probably hit me a little bit at the airport, stuff like that. Last time when I went home, it was more of a general, like, I don't know what the fuck my life is going to be like. And I didn't realize that it'd be, after I got home from that trip, it would be another year before, like, things finally started to normalize and stabilize out. In this case, I think it's more of an existential dread with just the state of the U.S. and the state of the world in general, and what that all kind of looks like over the next, few months and next couple years. Because I never know when I'm going to come back here. It could be a year, it could be 2 years, I don't know. In this case, I feel like with this trip, the last time it was, it was a lot of new stuff. So I had never really been to Yokohama before, so everything I was doing was brand new. And I was going to some places that I had been before, but experiencing new things there. And then obviously Hiroshima and Onomichi, that was all brand new. And it was a much longer trip, and it was my first trip here in like 3.5 years. So everything felt different. Coming back this time around, it feels more like, kind of coming home a little bit. Like it's not so weird anymore. Like you obviously are dealing with a lot of stuff that's in a completely separate language, but it was less of a transitional shock, I'd say, this time around. So maybe that's probably why maybe I wasn't like as hyped about it, if that makes sense. It probably doesn't. For the most part, though, like I said, I love coming here, and leaving it's always difficult, but I think it's mellowing out to where it's at this realistic level of coming here isn't like this huge high anymore, just because I'm so much more familiar with it. There's lots of things I don't know, and there's lots of things I have to get used to and to learn, obviously, but it is a lot more familiar to me now than it was even 2 years ago, let alone 7 years ago when I came here for the first time. And I think also leaving's always hard, but with each subsequent visit, I continue to realize, I can always come back. Like it's not a cheap thing to do, but if I plan around it and I'm smart about it, I can do this again. There will be a 5th, 6th, 7th time, hopefully. Now, as for my next like major vacation when I have paid time off again, I have no idea. It's probably going to be U.S. based. I got some people to visit, and there's places I would like to go that I've never been to in the U.S. as well. But we will see how all that shit works out. As far as, this vlog series, I know for the 13th, I'm just going to film all that stuff and put it together later. By the time this comes out, the previous couple days before the 12th will finally be available. It's slowed down, but it's all going to come out. At least as far as doing the new series, that's probably going to be like all shorts, just because I don't think I need to make it very long, and I would like to experiment with just having a series completely shorts, just to see if it tracks a little bit better with an audience. I don't know. Obviously, with these vlogs, they're just kind of for the people I know, and if other people get enjoyment out of them, hey, cool. There's folks that I don't follow anymore on other platforms because I'm not on there, and this is the only way they'd be able to see what I'm doing and what I have been doing. So, hopefully they've gotten enjoyment out of that. I'm not really worried about it. I think I've talked about it elsewhere. For the most part, I'm not done doing stuff here on YouTube or even on Twitch, but for the most part, it's going to be strictly on my time. And if I decide I don't want to do something for a while, that's just kind of how it's going to be. But when I have an idea and I want to enact on it, then I'll make it. I'll do it. That's the time I have. That's the time I want to give to it. This is not something I do for a living, and this is not something I make money out of. This is not something where, you know, my following's big enough where I need to think about it more than, hey, do I want to do this? Yeah. Okay, cool. If not, well, you know, then I'm not gonna waste my time on it, so to speak. That's a bad way to put it, but you know, you only have so much time in the day in a week, month, or year, and you spend it the way you want to spend it. And if you decide, hey, I don't want to spend it that way, that's how it is. And that's how I've been looking at it. And, you know, I don't have any of these big projects anymore that kind of hang over my head or try to dictate my time when I would rather be doing something else. Now I'm kind of in full control of that again. And obviously going back to work, that's going to eat up a lot of time too. So it's a matter of, you know, what little I have to myself, I need to get better at dictating that and deciding on it. And as much as I like creating things, it doesn't pay for itself. I can't rely on that, and I'm not making stuff really anymore to court an audience or to grow anything. I just create because I want to, and if it finds the audience, then that's great. Until then, yeah, I got to be extra realistic about it and how much time and effort of mine that I want to put into it. Anyway, that's a ramble for you. Yeah, if I go to Chinatown tonight, I will throw some of that in here at the end. That's pretty much it. So I will see you guys again soon as I make my way back home. Yeah. Oh, big bird, sorry. Crows around here are giant. Okay, I'm not going to be sad. I'm going to try to make the most of the time I have left here. So I'll talk to you guys again soon.